So I'm going to go over how to do some animations and some callouts in PowerPoint, and we're going to focus on some of the basics, and then later in this video I will go over with you what we're calling an advanced callout method. And I will first show you a video of how it looks like when it's done, and then I'll spend about 15 minutes deconstructing the method, showing you how to build it. First, we're going to focus on just some basics. In one of the handouts, it talks about how you need to keep your PowerPoints one thought at a time. So one of the basic ways to do that is to just have your bullet points show up one at a time in the presentation. So that can easily be done with just some animations. So we'll highlight our first bullet point and say that we want this one to float in. But we don't want it to float from the bottom. You always want things to come in from the left. I don't know if there's a way to change that on this one. Instead, we'll do fly in. Fly in, you can change the direction that you have it come in. You just go over here, right click, go to effect options. You have it fly in from the left. And so that bullet point will come in by itself. You should focus on either doing like a fly in like that, or just have it just appear one at a time. That's a very simple way to do it. It's very clean, it looks professional. So we'll just have these appear, and then this part, we'll have that appear. This down here needs to appear, and then we'll have this part appear last. So we want the one down here that explains the prices to appear as this appears. So this is, right here it says this is the fourth animation, that's the fifth. So what we need to do is go over here, change this one to start with previous. So now you'll notice it's 4, these are 4, so they're going to happen at the same time. So beyond that, I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll do a little bit more modification. So you'll see the first one's going to fly in. That's pretty clean. That's really, for a professional PowerPoint like this, that's the only thing you should use other than the simple appear animation that we're going to use next. So you'll see these just appear one at a time like we set them up to do. Notice that the explanation at the bottom down here did come in at the same time that the actual prices came in, so that's good. Now, say that we want to demonstrate the big difference between these prices in Mexico and the average US price. So we could have these, we could do something like have these change color to really demonstrate it. We could go to the effect option. Since it's so much higher, we could really demonstrate that by using a red. Have it become red to show the huge difference between US prices. And we'll do the same thing with the US price, but we will make it green in order to show how much lower it is than the prices in Mexico. And we want to have those change color at the same time, so we'll have that start with previous. This is just another way that you can go about kind of like calling out data, showing it to the audience, letting them know what you're trying to get across. So we'll go through these, and now we'll have the colors change. That shows you that the US price is much lower on average than prices in Mexico. So that's one way of like calling out some data. Another way would be to use shapes. We can call things out with shapes. I'll use a map as an image to explain. Say we want to group these even more than they already are. So we can go here to shape. We could add a circle. Just have the circle group it. For some reason, PowerPoint always defaults to filling in their circles, so you'll want to go to Shape Fill and hit No. We can change the weight to make the circle thicker so that it can call out the data. It'll draw your attention to it. And that's one other method. So you can do some basic things like this just to keep your PowerPoint one thought at a time so that the executive will be focusing on what you're saying and not on reading your PowerPoint. There are some basic callouts like adding the shapes. You can do that to draw their attention to what you're trying to get them to look at. And next we're going to go over the advanced callout method that is explained in one of the guides that you'll be provided. But I wanted to demonstrate it and actually deconstruct it so that you can see exactly how it was made, how to reproduce the method. So I'm going to briefly show you a video of the final product. In the final product, I'm going to show you first it's going to be kind of a rough version, and then it's going to show you the finalized version to show you how smooth the method works. And then after that, like I said, I'll spend about 15 minutes breaking it down, showing you how it was made, how to do it. And so in this next video, I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to show you the final product, and then I'll go back to talking, show you how I did it. And from now on, I'm going to say that I'm using this on maps, that this is like a map method. So that isn't completely accurate. I mean, you can use this for pretty much any visual, any chart, any image that you need to really put focus on. So I'm going to show you the final product, and then we'll get back to explaining things clearly. So I'm going to detail today what we're calling the advanced callout method. In PowerPoint, a callout is basically a way to bring out data in order to like narrow in on certain aspects that you really want to drill home to your audience. So this method is best to use on maps whenever you need to show regions, show information on a map. And so I'm going to show you how to do these, and along the way hopefully explain to you why it's necessary to do this. So you can see here we have a fairly typical slide with a map and a title, that's it. And so we want to enlarge this image so that we can show a couple of regions in Mexico to our audience. So first off, we're just going to add a simple animation. You can go in here into the animation pane and add grow/shrink so that we can start by enlarging the image. If you hit your little animation pane, you can see over here what it's doing. If we go into full screen, we can see how it's getting enlarged. I am wanting this image to take up the whole screen, so it's not enlarging it enough. And you can already tell that the map is starting to lose quality. So that's why, one of the reasons why we need to utilize this method of callout. So if we go over here to our animation, we can go to the effect options. It's growing it 150%, which I'm already saying I don't think is enough. So we're going to go in here, we're going to custom change this to 200% and see what that looks like. So just hit OK and it'll demo it for you. I think that's large enough, so we're going to try this and see what it looks like. Yeah, this is perfect, but you can see how bad the quality of the map has become. And when you're presenting this to high-level executives at a company, you do not want low-quality imagery. So we're going to use a program called GIMP to make an enlarged version of this that we can overlay on top of the slide. So in GIMP, I've already booted up the image, and all you have to do to enlarge an image is go to the Image tab, hit Scale. We're going to scale it by percentage. You can mess with these other features, but I just like to use percent. And we're going to enlarge it by 200%. That should automatically change there as well. So you can see that the image we're creating is fairly large, 2752 by 1700. So we can easily enlarge this in PowerPoint without losing the quality that we're wanting to demonstrate. So hit scale, it won't take too long to do. Then if you go to File, you can just hit Export, and you can give it a name. Here you'll want to say quality 100% because, like I said, we're focusing on quality, so you really don't want to lose any in the exportation either. So go ahead and export that. And we'll go back to PowerPoint now and demonstrate this. So in PowerPoint, you can just go over here, Insert Pictures, and we'll insert the new one we just created. So now in order to test this method, you need to already add an animation to this one in order for it to appear. Because you don't want, when you start the slide, you don't want the large image to immediately show up. Now if we go in here, we'll enlarge this image, and you need to pay attention to where the what is on the edge of the screen so that we can do this. So our next step, as you can see, this is going to get overlaid on top of the other. So our next step, we don't want the image to overlay the title. So you're going to want to go here to the title and tell it to bring it to the front. Bring to front. So now you can see that the title is not getting overlaid by this map. So now, since this map, like we said, was 2752 by 1700, we can enlarge it in PowerPoint without losing much of the quality. So we're going to want to enlarge this, and again, as we enlarge it, you can see here how it compares to the outside of the PowerPoint screen. So you can try to overlay it perfectly on top of the other. This is the most laborious part of the process. It can oftentimes take a while to get it to overlay perfectly, but once it does, you'll see the power of the method. And you will often never get this completely right on the first try, so you're just going to have to enlarge it, see how it looks, and then go from there. So here we're going to test out the way I have this overlaid. So we'll enlarge this image, and then we'll have the one overlay it. It's kind of close, but not quite there yet. So then you just have to keep playing around with it until you can get it to overlay perfectly. We'll increase this just a little bit, and then move it to the left some. Now we'll try this. Okay, clearly needs to go a little bit more to the left. As I said, this part's going to take a while, but don't lose patience because it will look really great when you get it completely overlaid. We'll try it again. You can tell that it needs to go more to the left and just a little bit down. We haven't got it completely enlarged yet. So move it to the left. We'll go back down here to enlarge it just a little bit more. And again, just try it. Okay. So it needs to go down just a little bit more and then to the left a little more. This is really a bunch of trial and error, but as I said, once we get it to show up, and work perfectly. You'll see why this method is useful. It creates such a great PowerPoint and will impress executives. Now, I think I may have moved it a little too left, but we'll try it and see. No, I didn't move it enough. But you can see it's almost there. But just a little bit more left. Not quite, but close. Now, we've got it almost perfectly overlaid, so we can go on to the next step. As you can see here, the title is not very clear, so we're going to want to fix that next. So when we can go into the animation now, and we can go to this animation where the overlaid photo shows up, and we can change that to start after previous. So now we're going to want to do something with the title. So the title's we're not going to want it to lay over the map, so we're going to add a simple animation to move it. You can go down here to the motion path and just hit line. We don't want it to move down, so we'll change the path here. Green is where it's at now, red's where it's moving to. So we'll move it over to here, and now we'll try that and see how that works. Okay, now it's going to move over. That works perfectly fine. It's off in the white, but it's still kind of hard to see, so we're going to fix that now. You can go in here and you can change that with another animation. You can use object color here, or font color. Font color would work best. And so you can see it's changing colors. So we're going to go in here, go to its effect, and so here's the font color that it's creating. So we're going to have it turn black. And we're going to time that so that it doesn't take very long at all to turn black. Okay. So now you can go ahead and tell the title to move with previous, and it can change colors with previous. Now we'll try this and see how this works. Okay, it's almost perfect, but that moved a little bit too slow. You really don't want these animations to take too much time. So we're going to go into the effect options and the timing, and we're going to we're going to speed this one up just a little bit. And now we'll test it and see how quick it is. So now you can see everything's easy to see. The quality's still there. I mean, it's a little bit decreased, but it's much better than when the image was enlarged by the animation. So that is basically the callout method. And so there are further ways that you can call out things. Say we want to call out this region and this region down here. We can do that with just a simple shape. We can like put a circle over it. So you can see here, we'll just put a circle here. You're going to want to go to shape fill, say no fill, that way it's not in our way. We'll make its outline black so you can see it on top of the map. And then we can go down here to the weight, and we'll increase the thickness of the circle so that it's easier to see. So we called out that region a little bit, so we'll insert another shape down to the south. And we'll want to do the same thing here. Go to shape fill, no fill, outline, make it black, make the weight a little bit thicker. Okay. So now that we've got that, you're not going to want them to show up right at the beginning either. So we're going to add an animation to each of them to appear. Now when we do this, the image enlarges, the title moves, and now we've got the circles to call out the data that we need to show. So now, in order to decrease the size of the PowerPoint file, we're going to get rid of the excess parts of the overlaid photo that we don't need. So we'll just go to Picture Tools Format and hit Crop. So now we can crop this image. You just go up to the black line and pull it down. It shows you the edge of the PowerPoint. So you can just line it up perfectly with the edges here. Just do this to all four sides of the PowerPoint. We're eliminating parts of the picture that we don't need so that it keeps the file size as small as possible.
How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you? Now that we've got the edges lined up perfectly with that, we can go ahead and hit crop again, and you can see it removes the excess parts while keeping it lined up with the PowerPoint. So now you'll see when we go to use it, it still works perfectly. All it did was remove the edges of this overlaid image so that we can keep our PowerPoint file size as small as possible. So that is basically the advanced callout method, best used for maps. And so if you're using a map in your PowerPoint, you can utilize this method. You can see it didn't take all that long to do, and it added so much more to the PowerPoint. So I recommend that you try this method, see if it works for your PowerPoint. If it does, great. If it doesn't, you can try other methods. But just keep in mind that you're going to want to bring out the data as best that you can so that you can really drive home your message to your audience. Thank you.